Alright, so next let's look at finding inverses. To find an inverse, you would start with the square matrix, which is normally called A, on the left, and you would put its matching identity matrix on the right. And then you would use row operations to swap and get the identity onto the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side you would end up having the inverse. So we'll look at an example here. So we're asked to find the inverse of the matrix 2, 3, 1, 1. And again, that -1 as a power doesn't mean 1 over. It means the multiplicative inverse. So the first thing we're going to do is set up the bigger matrix. So 2, 3, 1, 1 was A. And then on the right-hand side, we'll put the identity matrix that's the same size as the A. So 1, 0, 0, 1. Now we want 1, 0, 0, 1 on the left. So we always work left to right, and we want to get our 1s before we get our 0s. So if you look at the first column, I go column 1 and then column 2. So if you look at column 1, I do have a 1. So I'm just going to switch those two rows for my first step. So I'll move 1, 1, 0, 1 to the top row, and then 2, 3, 1, 0 to the bottom row. Again, I want my 1 always first in a column, and I'll use that 1 to get the 0 in the same column, working left to right. So to do that, it really helps if you label your rows. So I'm going to label the first row A, the second row B, so I can kind of follow the arithmetic of what I'm doing. Now A doesn't change because I have my 1, so I'll just write it as 1, 1, 0, 1. B, however, needs to become a 0. So we always use our 1 to get the 0. So I'm going to have to multiply the 1 by -2 and add it to 2. And the way I'm going to write that is, because you have to do the whole row, because remember it's really an equation, part of it is, I'm going to take -2 times all of row A and then add that to row B to replace row B. So reading across, starting at the top, look at A, in the middle matrix here, it's -2 times 1 plus 2 is 0. So in the new matrix, that's where I got the 0. And then I have -2 times 1 is -2 plus 3 is 1. And that's where I got the 1 in the second row of the new matrix. And then again, you have to keep going past the bar. So -2 times 0 plus 1 is just 1. And then lastly, -2 times 1 is -2 plus 0 is -2. So that's how I got the new row. Now, I'm going to call that new row C. I should have backed there. So the C row has what I want now. It's got the 1 where it needs to have it. So I'm just going to leave it alone and rewrite it. So C is 1, 0, 1, -2. But row A, I need a 0 where that 1 is. So to do that, I would take the opposite of C and add it to A. So -1 times 0 plus 1 will replace the 1 and give me still 1 again. And then the second column would be -1 times -1 times 1 is -1 plus 1 gives me a 0 in the first row. And then reading across, then I have -1 times 1 is -1 plus 0 gives me the -1. And then finally, -1 times -2 is 2. And then adding 1, I get 3. That's how I got that new row on top. So finally, if you look, the left of this matrix is the identity. It's 1, 0, 0, 1. So that means the right-hand side really is the inverse. So I have an inverse of -1, 3, 1, -2. If I wanted to check it, I would take and multiply it by the original inverse, and it should give me 1, 0, 0, 1.